And there's an opportunity for you as a community to ask the mayor anything. And I said to her, anything? And she said, anything. So look, this is our space as a whole community to really get our questions answered, to actually to learn together and just kind of be in celebration of this great city that we live in. So thank you all. Come on in, get a seat. I love to see you up here in the seat. Got a little packed house in here today. I like it. Yeah. That's how we want to handle it. Miss Whitney, how are you? Good to see you. Yes, indeed. Yes, I love community. All right, then. Speaking of community, it is indeed my pleasure and honor to bring to the stage to introduce the mic one of your greatest leaders in this area, Mr. Andrew Park.
Hey, you don't need to lay on thick like that, but as she said, my name is Andrew, and longtime resident of Oakland. Came here in '79 to Chinatown, went to Garfield, Railroad Heights, Skyline, and just, Laney College, Merritt, all of that. And as many of you know, because we work with you here, East Side Arts Alliance, Wendy, our park steward, Basie, our council presidents. If I'm not mentioning you, forgive me, but we've done Pantera, Coach G out here. We've been working together to bring resources and to somehow help and just do something for our kids. And this park has turned around in these last couple of years, even as even with the pandemic and such up here. Okay, I'll take this first. So just want to welcome everyone here tonight. One thing I love about San Antonio is the diversity, but it's the harmony in diversity. And if some of you go, well, hold up, there's a lot of division, a lot of density, a lot of people getting at each other. I know. But at the same time, if you look around, we are getting along pretty well. We just have some major challenges that's been put on us for generations, right? And I think what tonight is about, it's about like, how do we push forward and not necessarily look to the back? We got to look back in a sense of like, remember our culture, remember who we are, not forget, our ancestors and such, but we really are trying to push forward, regardless of your politics, regardless of where you come from, whatever bent you might have, is how can we work together to affect the unhoused situation, the encampments, the shootings on the street level prostitution, the illegal dumping. We got issue after issue, but then we see the kids, and that makes us want to push forward a little bit. We see our family, we see our friends, we see the other, and we want to bring them into a sense of belonging. And that's really, that's my hope, for tonight. And I'm not sure if I'm introducing the mayor, but I definitely want to say one note about the mayor appreciation for her doing this. Is that one thing I've always respected about, Mayor Libby Schaaf is that she has always had tremendous power. And I'm just like, wow, where is she getting this from? And in one sense, I'll mention the power is that she can raise money for almost anything. And, that's a really important thing to have in the city, right? And how it's affected us here in San Antonio Park, you guys should know, we're putting on town nights here, but it wasn't us. It was through the grace of DVP, Department of Violence Prevention. Yeah, Chief is here with Contrell and Jen, but it was Oakland Parks and Rec. And when the mayor heard about this, she again brought that power to say like, hey, let's just not do 4 or whatever you guys are doing. Can you guys do an extra one? And of course, what we always say is like, yes, but our people are tired. We can't just do it out of thin air. We need some resources. Okay, let me go fundraise. And just to let you guys know, we had like quality food vendors that you would see like in Rockridge, right? But it was free here, tacos, quesadilla, pizza, a barbecue. And that was all because it was a collaborative thing that the mayor saw and saying, I want to continue to fund something like that. And I think that's what we need is when we see good things happen in the community, if you have power to use that for the sake of those who might not have and who need some resources so they can get to that next level and they can also be able to help somebody. So I've already taken more than my time, but I just want to again welcome you guys warmly here, and I'll just pass the mic. I'm not sure to our esteemed Mayor Schaaf. Let's give her a big hand.
All right, Andrew Park is just one of those tireless community heroes that just like infuses love into the community. So one more time, Andrew, Tribe, an organization that lives up to its name, Tribe. Like we are all part of this one big, beautiful family. And no, you didn't have to pass the physical mic to me because they gave me this like Lady Gaga thing, It's kind of cool. I feel like I'm on a TED Talk. I want to also start with a few introductions before we into our questions and answers. First of all, I want to recognize, I believe we have Sarah Ting representing the Alameda County Supervisor, Dave Brown. He's your supervisor. And we have, of course, thank you for letting us be in your hood, the council president and council member for District 2, Nikki Fortunato Bass. Oh, and I saw a former school board member, David Kakashiba, arrive. Hi, David. And then I'm not going to introduce them all by name, but one of the things that we want you to do is not just have, after we're going to have the Q&A, and I'm going to answer whatever questions you ask me from this stage in front of God and everyone. But I want you to linger a little bit because we've got all this amazing city staff. I'm going to be the mayor for only about 140 more days. You're going to have a new mayor next year. But this staff is all going to still be here working for you. And so I see we've got Oak 311. Wave. Look behind you and wave at these guys. Oak 311. Does anybody in the audience, God, I wish I had a prize to give, have the Oak 311 app loaded onto your phone? Thank you. Thank you, Jen. Thank you, Brenda-Lynn. Brenda-Lynn, a commissioner. Aren't you the chair now of the Police Commission Selection Commission? You just ended. Okay. Well, anyway, thank you for your service. All right. If you don't have Oak 311, it's really fun, actually. Every time you see dumping or you see graffiti or you see a pothole, I know that never happens in the city of Oakland. You can take a picture of it. Yeah, thank you for laughing. You can take a picture of it and send it in, and it will get fixed. Although I'm sure I'm going to get a question about potholes, so we'll talk about that later. We've got the Public Works Department. If you want to know, Harold Duffy, the director, is waving. You can always tell Public Works are in the yellow vest, right? If you want to know whether your street is going to get repaved in the next 5 years, they actually have the list of every single street that has already been approved for repaving. I'm going around. I see Friends of San Antonio Park. And I know we've been passing out the new approved master plan that has been really driven by this community process. And maybe, Nikki, you can stand up here because you have been fighting for this for a lot. Today, as of this morning, it is official. There will not be a fire station in San Antonio Park. All right, I wanted you to get, I didn't let any other council member up on my stage, so I don't want to get in trouble with the other ones. But, and then who, I know we have our police deputy chief here, Chief Beers, for questions. We've got the mayor's table. Clap it up for our beautiful interns. All right, who else do we have back there? Who am I missing? We got the director of libraries here. Peggy Moore, who am I missing? Who am I missing? I got the housing department. Oh my gosh. If you want to know about your rights as a tenant, if you want to know about your rights as a landlord, if you want to know about how to get connected with affordable housing, go to that housing resource table. We have our fabulous director of race and equity, Darlene Flynn. Darlene, where are you? Wave your arms. Thank you. Thank you. We have the chief of staff to the chief of the fire department, Michael Hunt. We have a lot of chiefs here today. We also have our chief of violence prevention, Guillermo Cespedes, and his beautiful team. And we also have, I know there are going to be some questions, but this is who you want to follow up with if you don't want to ask your question on the mic. We also have our new deputy director for gender-based violence. And I know that human trafficking is an issue of big concern in this neighborhood. So please, come on, take your applause, stand up. Thank you. It's new. Erica, I'm sorry, you're brand new. Kelly Dillon. Forgive me. And then who else am I missing? Oh, our new Park and Rec manager for this rec center right here. Welcome. Oakland is blessed with beautiful parks. Look at this day, and beautiful libraries. So I'm just going to give a few words, and then Peggy and our other folks are going to run the mics around. I want to thank, I feel like you're a fan club. Our folks from Wood Street, you have been to all 3 of my town halls. Folks from Parker Elementary School, all 3 of my town halls. Thank you for your persistence. So thank you for being back, frequent flyers. Si alguien quiere hablar o escuchar en español, tenemos traducción. Gracias. Pero si quieres escuchar en español, tenemos headphones y un translator. Okay. O si necesita, tú puedes ser que mi español no es perfecto, pero es bastante bien, yo puedo contestarle, okay? He's offering to be my personal tutor. This is fun. This is community. This feels great. This feels like family in this gorgeous park on this gorgeous Oakland day. But I do want to acknowledge that this has been a very hard couple of years. And I know that people are not necessarily in the most jovial space. And when we came out of our homes that we had been locked into, I can speak for myself. I did not like everything I saw. Trash on the streets, our own elders, our own children living on the streets, which no civilized nation or society should tolerate. An increase in gun violence over the last 2 years. So I just want to acknowledge that and just share how I try and reconnect with my hope, with my optimism, and with my deep, deep love of Oakland. You all know I'm born and raised here. I hope you all know I graduated from Skyline High School. And I have asked myself, like, where did this crazy love for my city come from? And I feel like it came from being a Girl Scout. I don't know if anybody else was a Girl Scout or a Boy Scout, but there was something, thank you, I see you. There's something about being of service, of going to other communities, of helping others, of feeling that just as one person, I have some power to make somebody's life better, or to pick up trash in a park and make that park more beautiful. Later, my mom and I started a nonprofit called Oakland Cares to try and encourage more volunteerism in Oakland. And that is what made me leave what I was then doing, being a attorney in a big corporate law firm, because I had a lot of law school debt. But to walk away from that to start a volunteer program for the Oakland Public Schools. And I hope somebody does ask me about kids tonight, because Andrew Park, you complimented me about my ability to use power to raise money. Well, I have one of the most exciting announcements of my entire time as mayor that I will officially make tomorrow, but I'm happy to let you in on the secret tonight, because I always say every Oakland girl has a side hustle. And mine has been to try and raise money for the community, and especially for our children. And so tomorrow, do you want to just know? Yeah. You just want to know? Okay. Tomorrow, I am going to be joined by the Vice President of the United States of America, Oakland's own Kamala Harris. She's going to be right here in the town. And we are announcing that this community has put together a $50 million investment fund for children's education. This investment fund will allow us to expand some existing programs at the Oakland Promise so that within 4 years, every single Oakland baby born to low-income parents will get a $500 college savings account at birth. And every low-income public school graduate who is going to pursue a college degree or a trade certificate will get a $1,000 scholarship each year that they are in school pursuing that degree. And this money, which is already in the bank, y'all, some politicians have press conferences when they like set goals. Okay. Or like announce a plan to. This money is actually in the bank and it will fund all of this through the year 2035. One generation of all children in Oakland with education as our expectation and our investment for them. So that is my exciting announcement. That's what I've been really, I'm doing the side hustle for Town Nights. I've been doing the real hustle for education for our kids. Thank you. With that, let's start our Q&A. I'd love to hear what your questions are. If you want to just speak your piece, that's fine too. This is a safe space, and it is my job to hear it all, the good, the bad, the ugly, but hopefully some beautiful community.
Thank you, Mayor Schaaf. Okay, so this is how this is going to work. I'm going to pass the mic and raise your hand, and we're going to bring the mic to you. You're going to ask your question. I'm going to ask you to stay within the 2-minute realm. If you don't, you know how it is. For those who've been here before, I'm going to stand next to you if it's talking too much. And if you keep going, I'm going to get in front of you. And don't keep going because I'm going to hug you. Because that's how we want to make sure we get as many voices as possible in this experience as our whole community can have something to say. I do want to recognize up front that we have been doing this for 3 nights in a row, and we've had a lot of participation, and we're so grateful for it. So the folks who have already spoken and taken the mic in the other 2 town halls, we're going to defer to you at the end because we want to make sure that we bring in new voices today. Okay, so let's make sure we all agree with that. We okay with that? All right, thank you. So who wants to go first? Come on. What's your name back? I got a green hat on back here.
And I want to warn, there are 2 children over here. They're not looking at me. I hope they have something to ask. Hey, children, whoop, whoop. I hope you have something to ask because we all love hearing from children. Oh, I'm sorry. But not if you're going to be too embarrassed, but it would be awesome.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi, Mayor. My name is Ansel Troy. I live on 85th Ave. I'm going to try to be brief. We've had a broken traffic signal for a number of months. It's been reported on 311, see Click Fix, and 85th and International. You want to respond to that?
Harold Duffy, I know you just put something in your mouth. All right, come talk to this man in the back. Traffic signals are a little more complicated to repair because they cost around $500,000, so they are a little complicated. But he's going to tell you how it's going to get fixed, and then Peggy is going to check with him in 1 week. You're going to get a card from one of my staff members, maybe Oliver here. Oliver, give him your card, and we're going to make sure that you get a response to what you need.
So it's literally facing the wrong direction. I can't see the hand.
I'm seeing nods like they know exactly what you're talking about.
All somebody has to come through and shift it so I know when it's my turn to walk. Okay. And it's been that way.
Oh, and it's a pedestrian signal.
Exactly.
Okay.
Number 2, you talked about speed ramps or something like that.
Oh, speed cushions.
Speed cushions. My mother lives off 35th, and I remember driving down, and I was like, how the hell did they get speed bumps? Because on my street,
first ever.
We can't get them because we're on that corridor. And I had been talking to my councilwoman, and nobody had ever, gotten back to me because I wanted to know how did 35th do it. So then you talked about it and I looked it up. There's nothing on the city website that tells us how we can apply for the speed cushions.
The speed cushions are new, and I want to thank you for riding your bike. That is a very beautiful, sustainable mode of transportation. Tragically, that speed cushion on 35th came out of a car-bike fatality. But yes, it has always been the policy that we have not been allowed to have speed bumps anywhere where there's a arterial or a bus route. That was our very first experiment where it was allowed. And so again, if you have a particular location, we'll have Public Works research it. I will say this about traffic safety improvements. We are excited that I don't know if you all saw President Biden sign that bipartisan infrastructure bill. I was actually honored to be on the lawn when he signed it. Oakland was invited to the White House for that. So we are looking forward to more resources, hopefully coming for street safety. But we also have an opportunity as Oaklanders to extend an infrastructure bond that got approved in 2016. It was called Measure KK, pays for affordable housing, road paving, and also improving facilities like libraries and rec centers. And you will have an opportunity as an Oakland voter to decide whether to extend it. It won't raise your taxes because the city council passed a great policy that actually locks in bond taxes related to bond debt at 2022 levels, so it can never go up. But I hope you give that careful consideration on your ballot this November. Okay, but that's why I have these guys all back here. Go talk to them. I mean, you can listen to me too, but you can go talk to them now. There's no time to solve a problem like right now. Thank you.
Hello. Hello, can you hear me?
Hi.
Hello. Hi. Hi, Mayor Schaaf. My name is Mia. I live here on Foothill and 18th. I have 3 kind of questions for you that I'd like you to answer. First, I have some feedback in this event is I didn't see any outreach to the community. And when I found it on social media, it's only in English, knowing that a lot of our neighbors speak Spanish, Cantonese, Khmer, Vietnamese. And so the first question is, what sort of language justice and language access services are you going to be committing to in your office? The next sort of context I want to give is we had a national night out and also was supported by the Ella Baker Center's National Night Out for Safety and Liberation. And we collected a lot of responses from the neighborhood about what they wanted to see and what sort of public programming and safety interventions, including having block parties, more services for green spaces, traffic safety, etc. And so I think the other question would be, what sort of funding would we be able to receive from your office, knowing that you only have 100x days left? And how can we work quickly to address some of these concerns? And also, again, knowing that there's so much limitation to policing and there needs to be a lot more community empowerment. The last piece is just with that new information you just mentioned about your grant is I'm wondering how is that funding going to be contributed to making sure our public schools stay open and robust, especially schools that are serving Black and Brown majority students, such as Parker Elementary that was just violently brutalized a few days ago, La Escolita, and many others. And so what is the plan to ensure that our public schools remain open and robust? So the 3 questions are public schools remaining open and robust, and how is that funding going to be contributing to that so that these students are getting into good schools? What ways can you be in conversation with the community for safety measures that we have sort of generated ourselves, and a lot of programming? And then the third one, what did I say? Oh, language access and language translation services, because a lot of the materials are not in languages that are actually used very often in this neighborhood. Thank you.
Great, thank you. So my staff will tell you that we're actually a little sad that we don't have more language diversity here today. We actually have translators, simultaneous translators here in Spanish, Vietnamese, and Chinese. And we did try and publicize this event, including through Spanish-speaking media. And if you want to ask Oliver, I think you led up some of that outreach ahead of time. We were just talking today about how, you know, we feel like we try so hard to get people that often, I mean, part of it is, you know, we're here in a park. So often people are expected to come downtown to City Hall, find parking, wait a long time to have their 2 minutes at the mic. So part of the idea was to come into communities. So we're honestly a little sad that we didn't get more language diversity, because we put out information in different languages, and we also tried to go through both community organizations as well as other language media. So if you have suggestions for how the next mayor can do better as far as getting people to show up, I would certainly welcome that. Your second question was about actually resources. Yeah, funding. Oh, with the city funds translation services. We have a whole office of equal access. And so when we need something translated into another language, there is funding set aside for that. Oakland also is one of the first cities in the whole country to require that certain public access positions be filled with priority for bilingual speaking folks, with the priority right now based on the last census for Spanish and Cantonese are the two most spoken languages in Oakland. So anyway, our equal access ordinance is audited every year, and that might be something that would be of interest to you. Your second question was about funding for the different community plans. I will not do a budget again as the mayor, so I encourage you to bring your ideas to the council member who is not termed out at the end of this year, like I am, and then the next mayor. The budget process is probably going to start around January when the new mayor takes their place. There's a lot of interaction and education about it, and then the mayor and the city administrator give a proposed budget by May 1st, and then the budget is in the hands of the city council. So the mayor actually does not get a final vote or final say on the city's budget, but does get the very first proposal. So that process is coming up, and I encourage you to stay involved in that. And then finally, about schools, the school district is a separate government with a separate set of elected leaders, a separate budget, separate laws that govern it, than the city government in the city of Oakland. So we don't really have jurisdiction. I have a personal passion around education, and so I raised this money for a college education for kids, kind of using what they call your soft power, but that is not the city of Oakland's jurisdiction, so I would refer you to the school district. I know that school closures have been incredibly painful. I know that we have that the kind of ravages of systemic racism have damaged our public education system, our communities, and we certainly see that continue to be reflected in the unacceptable pay for our educators, for example, and the insufficient budgeting for public education. And so I just want to name those issues, that I really respect just the pain and horror that people are feeling over school closures, and also respect the leaders that run this other government that I am not a part of. That I will say, I know as leaders, often we have, to choose between an absolutely horrible and unacceptable option and one that is even more horrible and more unacceptable. Sometimes those are the choices that are presented to us. So I also feel great compassion for the difficulty of the decisions that have been in front of the Oakland School Board. But thank you for your question, and thank you for bringing your activism and your energy here tonight. Yes.
Thank you very much for coming out here, and thank you everyone for being out here over in the San Antonio neighborhood. I imagine that everyone is here because they care incredibly much about the city of Oakland, what happens here, what happens on our streets. You're likely aware that just 1 block away from here, over on East 15th, it's probably the hottest or one of the hottest centers for sex trafficking, sex work in the city of Oakland, okay, and probably in California, outside of Los Angeles, perhaps. So it's been going on now for quite a long time. We all know that. but it's getting worse. And a lot of us, at least, me and a few others that I recognize, live in this neighborhood, and we have to put up with this day in and day out, 24 hours a day. So my question, I guess, is, does the city of Oakland care about this? And if they care, is there a plan to somehow manage this situation of sex trafficking, both of our own girls and of the girls that are brought in to do this work? Well, I don't know. Is there a plan? I mean, because we just don't see much happening, right? And I'm not saying that it's got to be a police enforcement thing, but the city does need a plan to somehow figure this out.
So I want to highlight three things, and I know Chief Beers, I think you actually wanted to speak for a minute about this. I don't always let city. I would love to have you on the mic if you want to, or if you want to just talk to people privately. Okay, but let me just talk about three things in my own personal history with this issue. I think Wendy Jung remembers me when I first came as a young, and Elena, you remember me when I first came as a young council aide in 1999. We have known each other that long. And I was determined to make a difference with this horrific crime of human trafficking. And you kept on saying girls, 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 but let's talk about the men. Because this crime exists because of extortion, threats, violence, and customer base. So I just had to get that off my female chest there for a second. And I do want to commend Oakland for being one of the very first cities in the country whose police department actually focused on the exploiters, on the pimps, on the customers, and actually recognize the women as victims of crime, not perpetrators of crime. And so I do want to say that philosophy is one that I fully support. Now, we do have, I will let Captain Beer get on the horn in a second. I do want to again recognize our new deputy director, whose actual job it is to actually engage in gender-based violence, which is exactly what human trafficking is, as well as a new grant that our chief of violence prevention is going to be overseeing of $6 million that we just got from the state of California. Now, a lot of that is going to go into behavioral cognitive therapy. It's going to go into working with family units, but some of it, we are going to be looking at employing what we call CEPTED. I think some of you know what that means, crime prevention through environmental design. And that's the idea of doing physical interventions to a place to discourage certain types of criminal activity. And that type of intervention can sometimes be helpful in the situation that you're speaking of. And that is a brand new resource that we literally announced last week. But Chief Beers, I would love, I know you came prepared to talk about this tonight. We are aware of it. And I would you like to hear kind of what the plan is at this time? Okay. Did someone give him? Oh, great. Thanks.
No, thank you. That's a great question. And the mayor, she laid the groundwork actually perfectly for what our efforts are. Recently we've shifted our focus. Our focus traditionally back in the old days was to go out there and do sweeps, arrest the women, and put them in jail. And that never works. And it just took us a long time to figure that out. So most recently, the last 30 days, and we've been doing this for a while, but for the last 30 days, we implemented Operation where we went out there to target the exploiters, the Johns, the people that are actually fueling the demand for this. Out of those 12 operations, we made 25 arrests. We did outreach with 60 girls that were involved in this and being victimized throughout the whole process. And we provided them with resources, other numbers that were non-governmental organizations not associated with the police department, but actually partnered with us and felt comfortable coming out because it's dangerous for them to come out as well. So there was a lot of headway with that. So we're hoping they'll get some traction, get some of the girls that need the help, the support, the structure to get out of this life, because they're truly being victimized on a level that most of us could never comprehend. And I apologize that for the neighbors that have to live through this. It's terrible because all the other things that come along with it. And I know, and that's one of the reasons why we did this focused operation the last 30 days. And I did drive around the block, and they are out there again today. But out of those 12 operations, we arrested 25 people. We had 60 girls that we had outreach with. And this is a scary thing, but we've recovered 3 handguns, an assault rifle with fully loaded extended magazines. And then we also had an individual arrested for child exploitation. And I won't go into the details of that. But it's a pandemic issue, right? This is terrible. It's been going on a long time. It affects everybody. There's no discrimination in it. It's our kids, right? These are our children. So we are making a big effort towards it. We're trying to work with the DA's office for alternative strategies. And the DA's office has assigned Charmaine Bach to kind of help us through it. She was a prosecutor for many of the human traffic operations for many years. So we're looking at implementing stay away orders. This is something that we're working with Council President Bass's office for quite some time. And we're still pushing to get some signs up and get those stay away orders put in place. We're going to continue with outreach work, and then we're actually continuing to go to focus to go after the Johns. I'd like to thank the community. In the last 30 days, we were able to issue over 60 John letters, which is where we sent out letters to people that were driving around the neighborhood attempting to pick up girls, or were picking up girls, and the residents actually provided us their license plate, which we ran, and we sent them a letter to their house to let them know that if you come back, you're likely going to get arrested. So I think those are the people that need to have the
hopefully
attention.
their wives open those letters.
I couldn't sing that, Mayor, but that's what I was thinking too.
Sorry, I have feelings about this.
Again, we haven't stopped. We've been full throttle like for a long time now. And I definitely think working with DVP going forward, the gender violence, having that outreach, that's really where we're going to make the real effort in rescuing these young women. We've rescued plenty of victims of this throughout the years, but to be sustainable, to actually make a positive impact, we have to partnership with the Department of Violence Prevention, and hopefully Macro here can kind of help us out here when they get up and running, and try to leverage all of our community partners in this, right? Because there are kids, and we have to work together to make this a success.
Thank you, Chief. Okay. Right here, right in front, or?
I'm asking you to take 2 questions and answer them.
Okay, I know. You're gonna come hug me. I know. Go.
I'm going to make it quick because you already answered a lot of questions I had. I want to first say thank you for that $50 million that you raised for our youth. And then I want to let you know that we've always been, I'm Dr. Veronica Lowry. We pray and have a global prayer group for the men and women in blue, for our officials. And so I want you to know that, because we don't just pray, we're out there too. We're in the churches and we're doing things. My next question that I forgot to ask you earlier is, what is the plan for our the homeless and our tent communities moving forward?
Yeah, that's a long question. So it'd be interesting if anyone else has a question. Okay. Yeah. Okay. I'm gonna take 2 and then I'll
Hello,
respond.
my name is Gilbert Nunez. The only question for you is, last week I live about Telegraph, and it breaks my heart. By the time I come from work, I work in the city in San Francisco. By the time I come back home, I see one guy, beat 2 ladies over there in a Carriage Union, right? Mm-hmm. And I called, try to 911, see if somebody can help those 2 ladies beating with a guy. And I never got answered for 911. And I've been back home, and I never even answered for 911. Well, what's going on with that?
That should not happen. 911 should answer. That is wholly unacceptable. I will say that because of our short, that is not something I have heard for a long time, that you did not get any answer at all, because we have been actually staffing back up our dispatchers. But I just want to acknowledge that our police staffing is very low right now. And so when I look at our response times to 911 calls, I'm not very happy with those either. So I want to double check. There is one cell phone company that I think still hasn't been switched over to direct 911 connection. So I want to check with you. We can check and see if that, because did you call from a cell phone? It's horrible. Let me double check to see if that might be the one issue. I think there's one last provider that doesn't go straight into 911 because it's been a process to convert all the 911 calls. And I don't know, Michael Hunt, if you might also connect because, dispatch is a shared function. So thanks. Peggy Moore, I just got asked what we're doing about homelessness. That's a long answer. Is there one more quick one you want me to take before I get into that one? Okay.
Hi, my name is Yolanda, and I'm a parent leader with the San Antonio Family Resource Center. And I'm glad to see that this playgrounds are going to be improved, that is made on this paper. I would like to see a bigger and better rec center with, because due to the crime, the young kids are the one that's doing the crime now. And I have 2 children over there. I have to take way across town for karate, for some kind of rec stuff. I would love to see that here with libraries and stuff like that. And due to the crime around here. So that's good to see. I'm glad to see that. And I would like to see, and I know you're not going to be here, but hopefully that we do get with the next mayor, get that done. And I thank Nikki Bass. I've met with her a few times. I hosted a meeting with you, and you have worked with us to get this done. And I do want to thank you so much for that. I want to say I live close to that guy that got shot, I actually saw this man die. My kids did too, 2 weeks ago, the driver that was delivering the food. So I've been fighting this. Yeah, I've been a victim of my car getting stolen December. Then now they witnessed death. It's been hard. So that's why I do what I do. I want to thank Tribe Andrew, if he's out here, because we came to his over the summer. He did the what is that thing called? I can't think. I'm sorry, guys. I'm getting stage fright here. But the stuff for the kid, the cap for the children, and all that he do. I really want to thank him for that because this is what we have, and this is all we know at this park is Andrew and his crew, all the guys here that's helped making this park a better place. So we really need for y'all city officials to really help us out do a little better because the crime is really getting terrible. So that's all I have to say. And thank you for all that you've done for this.
All right, thank you. And I just want to acknowledge it's community voice, like Friends of San Antonio Park. You're making it happen. Okay. I can hear you. It's working.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Oh, how you doing, man? My name is Roderick Coleman.
Hi, Roderick.
7 years ago, I was a homeless veteran, sleeping under the bridge on West Grand and Martin Luther King and other homeless encampments. And the way these encampments are growing today, it doesn't seem like no one's doing nothing about it. Now, I've got a copy of the email that I have emailed all the city council members since last year and have not gotten one response. And in these emails, I told them because you have to give these people a 30-day notice. Nobody's listening. But the federal courts now told them, you can't just throw their stuff away. You got to give them a 30-day notice. Somebody needs to listen to us about the experience that we had in these homeless encampments. And I'd like to be in contact with someone who I can share these ideas with. It's a simple solution to this problem. Give me the tools and I'll take care of it. All I want is the tools. I don't want you to pay me. I don't want you to do nothing. Just give me the tools. And once you see the cleanup on one area, then we can move to the next area. My last issue that I want to address you with is the 911 phone call system. It's broken. You could be on the phone and somebody's getting stabbed and you get on the phone for 40 minutes. And this is crazy. So I'm hoping that you, the chief, or whoever, that needs to be fixed. So those are my 2 issues that I wanted to address you with. And I hope you have a solution to get me in contact with somebody that can listen to my ideas for a solution to these homeless encampments. Thank you.
Thank you, Roderick. I'm going to follow up on the 911 issue. That is a huge deal. So I'm not going to answer that tonight because that just simply should not be happening. So Michael Hunt and I are going to follow up on that. I wish solving homelessness were simple. I actually don't believe that at this moment, because we have a housing crisis, and it's not just in Oakland. It is all over this country. It's especially in coastal cities, and it's especially in communities that have a constrained housing market where housing is ridiculously expensive and there's not enough affordable housing for the people. I mean, maybe that makes it simple. That is the core cause of homelessness. In Oakland, we are trying to focus on preventing homelessness before it happens, and then permanently solving it by creating more affordable housing. We call it the 3 Ps approach. You protect people from losing the housing they have. You preserve existing affordable housing and make it actually affordable in a protected way. And then you also have to produce, you have to build more housing. Oakland actually was, believe it or not, recognized nationally. We got a big national award just a few weeks ago from the HUD Secretary, the Secretary of Housing and Urban Development for the United States of America, for our Keep Oakland Housed program. It has been preventing about 2,500 Oakland households from returning to homelessness by giving one-time emergency assistance funding for what is needed, case management to stabilize families to ensure they can remain housed after that one-time money is gone, and if they need legal help, free legal help. But we are, for every one person that we're preventing from falling into homeless, and for every one person that we're moving into permanent housing, 2, 3, 4 others are becoming homeless. So it has been heartbreaking. It really, I think, is the moral outrage of our time in this nation. Personally, I have put a big amount of energy into lobbying at the federal level. There's only one, I have to pass a balanced budget every year. State of California has to pass a balanced budget. It is only the federal government that can create an entitlement. That when your kids show up at school, nobody says, oh, I'm sorry, we didn't budget for this many kindergartners. Your kid is out of luck, right? That doesn't happen. Nobody turns you away from the emergency room at the hospital. If you qualify for food stamps or for SNAP, you get it, but not so with housing. And I believe that is how it should be. And it actually was in the Biden-Harris platform when they ran for president and vice president. So just know I've actually organized a big group nationally of bipartisan mayors and business leaders to lobby for an entitlement to housing choice vouchers. In other words, the government filling the gap between what the rent is and what you can afford. In the meantime, thanks to your generosity, we got a bond passed in 2016. It allowed us to triple the amount of new affordable housing that we are creating. We tripled it. It is still falling short, but it is so much more than what we were doing before. We are going to be, again, coming back to you with asking you to extend this bond. And in that bond proposal, it would include $350 million more to continue to create more affordable housing, because that is the long-term solution. Now, in between the prevention and the permanent solution, we are trying to triage. And I do want people to know that Oakland, California has kind of reinvented what shelter looks like. We have moved away from asking people to sleep in a room with a bunch of cots. The cabin community program, Project Room Key at the hotels, our safe RV parks. These allow people to go to bed at night behind a locked door with their partner, their pets, and their possessions and their privacy. So I do want to just say, Oakland is putting more dignity into how we are doing shelter, which is a triage. It is not a solution to homelessness. So I'm going to connect you up with maybe, I don't know if Eleanor is still here. let me find a right staff person that can hear in more detail what your idea is so that we can talk about it. Although know that I'm only the mayor for 140 more days. So if you think it's going to take longer than that to implement, although this is a problem I plan to work on for the rest of my life. I'm also working on a statewide initiative to lower the voter threshold for affordable housing bonds, because we need to take more housing off the speculative market. We need more social housing, housing that's owned by nonprofits and government, and we'll never be able to do that without a larger access to public money. So that was a long answer. Peggy's gonna come hug me. And then I just, balancing the impacts of encampments with our desire to end homelessness and house people. I know that's a struggle. I can answer that another day, or else she's going to come hug me.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is this up? All right. I'll throw you a softball because everyone's asking you to solve systemic racism. I won't ask you how to do that. My name's Ryan, longtime community resident, volunteer with Friends of San Antonio Park. I actually used the Oakland 311 app a couple days ago. Yeah, we're trying to clean up the neighborhood. But so this is where my question comes in. So when you report an abandoned vehicle, I don't necessarily even want better services across the city, but when you submit a request, if there's an abandoned vehicle right here in front of the park, you actually get an email from the city saying, if you live in West Oakland or in East Oakland, you get worse service than someone who lives in Montclair or North Oakland. You get an email from the city saying that it takes twice as long to remove an abandoned car from our neighborhoods versus somewhere else. And this is something that I brought up to city council. I brought it up to you in October when you were at the Grand Lake Farmers Market, and I've never gotten one response from the city ever about what the city is doing to provide equal service to the entire city. Because right now, the policy is each police beat gets the same amount of staffing, regardless of the need of local residents to remove abandoned cars from their area. And so I just want to know how our neighborhood can get the same level of service as other parts of the city.
So I am going to talk about what we're doing about systemic racism, because actually that question is all about systemic racism. So first of all, we are taking abandoned autos out of the police department. So that's the first thing we're doing. And it's going into the Department of Transportation. And if an email like that is going out anymore, I need to hear about that.
Well, I got it 3 days ago.
That is ridiculous. So I know that the process of moving it out of the police department into the Department of Transportation is taking a minute. In fact, I just got a recent update from Deputy City Administrator DeVries, because I know he's trying to oversee that process. But that is one thing we are doing to solve that problem. The city recognizes that there have been decades of unequal investment and attention in this city, okay? And so what we are trying to do now is be completely disciplined in documenting with data where those disparities are, and then adopting policies that allow us to systemically invest more and pay more attention to the geographies of the city that have been traditionally ignored and disinvested in. And there are a few examples of that I can give, and Darlene Flynn is right there. She is the guru in this. I am so grateful to all of her wisdom and leadership. But when you look at, for example, our racial disparity or equity index, it actually quantifies how much disparity there is in all sorts of issues, including like pedestrian accidents. So anyway, I'll give you some examples of policies that are working to reverse that. One, the paving plan. So where we are investing money in actually changing out the streets, replacing the streets. I don't know if you've all noticed, like, it's almost not worth calling a pothole in anymore, because we come and fill the pothole, and the next time it rains, the filling is out and the pothole's back. That's because our roads are in such deteriorated condition, they won't hold fill anymore. So they have to be replaced. This is maintenance that is long overdue. But our policy actually puts more paving funding into low income neighborhoods where a broken axle or a flat tire is going to be the difference between keeping your job or not. So you can see how we've combined actual road conditions with economic conditions to prioritize where the funding is. And the good news is because of Measure KK, everyone got more funding. Just parts of the city that have been historically neglected got a lot more funding. Same with our capital improvement projects. There's an actual equation that is used to rank those projects. And then we also had such a more robust process this year for inviting community members to actually put forward their own suggestions. And an actual door-to-door outreach in parts of the city that have rarely showed up. In fact, this was the first year that we received and funded projects that were submitted in languages, to someone else's question earlier, other than English, because we made that door-to-door outreach. And finally, speaking of our Deputy City Administrator, Joe DeVries, we've created this NEST program where we're actually bringing together a multi-departmental approach to, actually this is about to become the third neighborhood in the NEST program. There's a large one in Deep East Oakland. There's a smaller one in West Oakland, and this is actually about to become the third neighborhood that has a multi-departmental team of people that are focused really more kind of holistically on a geography that meets all these indicators of disparity and historic disinvestment. So it is true that in 8 years, I have not reversed centuries of systemic racism, but hopefully Darlene feels like I have supported her leadership and her work, and that we have adopted these policies that are systemically reversing the historic wrongs.
Respectfully, though, like a policy to remove abandoned autos is not a 5-year paving plan. What I'm asking for is if someone submits a request for an abandoned car in this neighborhood, they shouldn't have to wait twice as long as someone in Montclair.
No, they should not.
They
should not. That's ridiculous. They should not. That will be fixed as we move the abandoned auto whole department into the DOT out of the police department. That move will fix that problem.
Thank you.
We have about 5 more people that want to
So
speak.
I got to shut up.
I love everybody's support and helping me to point out people. I love that. Thank you so very much. Thank you. Appreciate it. But we gotta keep a little moving on this.
Sorry.
Okay. So I'm here representing Friends of San Antonio Park, which is a group that formed last year to ensure that the voices of long-term residents were represented in the master planning process for San Antonio Park. We held a major community visioning process in 4 languages that engaged over 340 neighbors over 4 months, in person, door to door, and at 3 big meetings in this park. And together we created a community vision for a vibrant, activated San Antonio Park, which could act as a safe haven for children, families, elders, and residents of all ages, and a hub for neighborhood services and round-the-clock programming from which positive change radiates out to our neighborhood. We generated 4 community recommendations, and one of the biggies was a new community center with a library and a roof sports deck in the park. And I just want to say how excited we are to read the executive summary of the new San Antonio Park Master Plan and see that it contains this vision for community center and library. Yes, we are so excited to make that happen and to start working hard to make these long needed renovations, like a new playground, also central to the new plan, also released today. So excited. So, and I'd like to drop the idea, ask the question about that new CERT site maybe being part of our NEST site. Thank you, Andrew. Being part of our new community center with wraparound services.
Nest is not a thing; it's a system.
The system, right? But it needs a site.
No,
So-
it doesn't.
No, okay, never mind. Maybe I'm completely wrong. But we like the idea of that being in this neighborhood, is what I'm trying to say. And also just want to thank the fire department. And I really mean it when I say that the Friends of San Antonio Park would like to use our organizing power to help you guys find a site for your fire department, because it's really important. And we actually have a architect in our community who has past experience designing fire stations in crowded urban areas, and has put together some designs for some of the sites that were presented as possibilities by the city. So I will present them to you, and he can talk to you later. Thank you, everyone.
Ooh, you almost got hugged. You almost got hugged. Okay. Hi. Hello, sir.
I would like to know, is it going to be a norm to tiptoe through the neighborhood because of rats and homelessness from the 80s down to the 100s? I mean, it's terrible. So I was wondering if anybody aware of this, you know?
You're talking about along the railroads and along,
East 14.
and also along San Leandro.
San Leandro and East 14. I mean, rats. You know, you have to dodge them. I mean, that don't make any sense. It's 2022.
No, the conditions are horrible. Like I said, it is the moral outrage of our time. I tried to explain how we're trying to approach it, preventing it from before it happens. Permanent housing is the actual solution. In the meantime, we are trying to provide dignified shelter. Go ahead.
Oh, it's on me. Oh, okay. It's all good. How you doing? My name is Ronaldo Gilder. So my question, I'm gonna try and keep it short, has to deal with public safety, also public health. So is there a plan or strategy from any of the departments, police, Department of Violence Prevention, and so forth, to tap into the state SB 803 peer support specialists that's supposed to be going throughout the communities to help address some of these, like, so for the crisis response and so forth, to have actual people who are trauma informed to be a part of the response teams and so forth. And I want to talk to y'all about it too. So that was it.
Okay.
Quick.
So yeah, we're super excited about Macro, which is like our non-police response that is community-based, trauma-informed. Please talk to Michael Hunt. He knows a lot about it. I will say that, you know, the city, we talked about the different layers of government, and I apologize because I know we make it hard for you to understand, and that's silly. But the county government actually receives most of the funding around health and wellness, right? They run public health department, behavioral health. So a lot of that does not go through the city of Oakland, although we find ourselves compelled to get more and more involved because the need is just so great. Yes.
Hello, yes.
Hi.
My name is Guillermo Antonio Cruz Garcia, and unfortunately, lately it been happens a lot of stuff in my life. First that I want to mention is about a year ago I got shot. I was sit down in a truck, and I filled out a application for victim of crime, and unfortunately they negated it. And I would like to know what they base it on, because you can see the clothes, the bullets right where I sit down in my truck. So I was not, danger to no one up to that point. I understand, the circumstantial proof that I was the victim. It happens just the 6th of this month, about a week and a half ago, around a week. They burned out my RB2. So I'm really feel like my life is, I really fell for my life. And I went and tried to, when they turned it off, they said they was going to call the Red Cross. Up to this point, I'm still waiting for it. I went and tried to get some help, for victim of crime. But unfortunately, there's no programs that really help this kind of person. And I'm living it in my own life. I would like to know if there is, I know you're going out, but in the purpose, or at least some kind of funds to use this to help this kind of person, because believe it or not, I'm a union carpenter. I've been working for a while in that industry, and and I seen like every time the door is closed on my face, even though that I try my best to do what I can, to survive. But the main thing right now is for those people who are victim of crimes, and you know, like in my they're in my spot. Is there any program when they can be helped? That's a question.
Sir, first of all, I'm so sorry that that happened to you. The Victim of Crime program is administered by the county, so I'm not as familiar with it. But I do know that Chief Cespedes could give you a phone number of, I forget who replaced Tammy Cloud, but we have someone with the city of Oakland that actually can help you navigate the Victim of Crime application. We often have advocated when people have been denied. We've actually tried to ensure that they get those benefits. And then also, I don't know if Bridget Cook in the police department might be helpful for you, but Chief Cespedes is going to follow up. The last thing I'll say, I'm sorry, it sounds like you also lost your housing. If you don't already know about it, one resource that everybody should just keep memorized is 211. 211 is kind of a single point of entry if you need to get into the homeless assistance program, if you need to get help with food, if you need, it's kind of if you're looking just for what resources there are for social services, 211 is kind of a one-stop shopping for that. Thank you, and I'm sorry. Hi.
I'm not sure how to work, but I work. Hi, I'm Diana Spatz. I live in the neighborhood on 18th and International. And I just want to thank people who brought up the issues about the abandoned cars. Oh my God. I mean, if OPD just drove down my street every day, we wouldn't need to report this stuff all the time. Like the garbage. It's demoralizing to see all this garbage on our street 24 hours a day. Why do we have to report it every day? Why don't you just send a crew every day to clean it up? And then the issue of the sex workers. I mean, on Saturday night, I drove down the street by the church and saw 2 OPD officers and thought, oh, they won't be out here tonight. And they made a right and went 2 blocks, and there was a whole crew of young ladies out there. And, and I don't think it's fair to criminalize them for trying to put food on the table, but because OPD is just ignoring them, it brings other crime to the neighborhood. So one night I heard gunshots, and I counted 13 gunshots, and I'm a mass shooting survivor. So I laid in bed and I listened for screaming. I thought maybe I should go out and make sure nobody's hurt. And I didn't hear any noise, so I went to sleep. And 2 hours later, I had to use the bathroom, and I saw flashing lights, and I learned that 2 young men had bled to death in the intersection who'd gotten shot, because everybody knows OPD doesn't do anything about this in the neighborhood. I was doing Airbnb for a while because of the injuries. I lost my job and I'm disabled now. And I had guests who would walk from Fruitvale Bart, and one guy he was a young Latino guy, so he doesn't like to call the police, but he came in one night just shocked because he said, I saw 50 women out there, Diana, walking from the BART station. He said, and one of them was only wearing boots. One night I came back from Target on a Friday evening, got stuck in traffic and thought, what was there, a fire? What happened? And then I came up East 15th Street, and it was like a flash mob of sex workers had taken over a 4-block area of this neighborhood. And it looked like the Pirates of the Caribbean on drugs, where women were just advertising their wares, and it's like all the cars knew where to go. They all came up 15th Avenue and made a right. Like, it was very well organized. And I've made call after call after call after call to OPD to try to share what I'm seeing. Nobody ever gets back to me. So it's been like, I'm actually moving from Oakland. I've lived in Oakland for 25 years. I've lived in this neighborhood for 5 years, and I just don't feel safe anymore. There was a shooting 3 nights ago. I counted 30. I called 911. And I just feel like if this was Montclair or Rockridge, none of this would be tolerated. You know, it's like this neighborhood has just been forgotten about. And then the homelessness issue. I mean, I had a Slovenian ballerina come to spend 3 months with me through Airbnb, which I can no longer do because apparently it's against city code for me to do that to make my rent. And she left early. She was so disturbed by the encampment on East 12th and 17th Avenue, which is a block from my house, that she left. She said, Americans don't care about each other. And I thought, wow, you know, I'd gotten so used to this stuff. I've lived in the Bay Area for 40 years. I'm a progressive. I'm a Democrat. And I'm embarrassed to be a Democrat because y'all are in power. You have the majority. When are you going to get your shit together and do something about this? I mean, do you not care about this? I mean, I hear the talk, but then I see the reality every day, you know, and I'm giving up, you know. My mom died and left me a house in South Carolina. I came here to get away from racists and Trump kind of people and evangelicals. And now they're in charge and I can't get away from them anywhere. And I have to go live next to a Trump voter now because I can't afford to be here anymore. I pay $3,000 a month rent to have sex workers start at 10 o'clock in the morning every day. I've been the victim of 15 property crimes in the last 12 months. I've had my car stolen. I've had so much of my mail stolen. I'm going through identity theft. Somebody got my bank card out of my mail on Thanksgiving weekend and drained my bank account. And when they sent me a new one 2 weeks later, they did it again. I couldn't even buy a turkey. It was the worst holiday I'd ever had in my life. I couldn't pay my storage unit, so I couldn't get my Christmas ornaments. So I'm sitting here going, what the hell is going on in the city? And in this neighborhood where you guys have just forgotten about us. And I'm an older white lady and I've got privilege and all that. And I'm like, this is ridiculous. If this was Rockridge or Montclair, y'all would not be tolerating this kind of stuff for a day.
That is a lot. That is a lot. No, you have every right to. You have every right to lose it.
I'm being investigated by my insurance company now because I've had to file so many claims for my car being stolen, my camper being stolen, my car being broken into. I don't even file claims for all the times that stuff happened, and they think I'm committing fraud now. So all that on top of the reality of daily life in a neighborhood that doesn't seem to be that you guys care about.
This is the level of frustration and the level of harm that we are seeing that I acknowledged when we came out. You've you've laid a lot out there, and I don't think it would do it justice for me to sit here on a mic and talk about it. But I can no. I think your story is you're not even alone. That's the worst part. But I'm going to come and sit down with you when we break up because you deserve a lot of attention. I apologize. Okay. 2 more questions.
Mayor Libby Schaaf. Oakland cannot be the city that everyone comes to dump their trash. I've lived here since I was 11 years old in this community, and I've seen the changes. I've seen the degradation. I've seen the oppression, and it is so heartbreaking. My question is, I've seen so many beautiful condos erected all around Oakland, and I'm wondering if all these condos can be erected, then how come we don't have the money to house the homeless? Why wasn't money allocated for these people who are out here on the streets, living in trash, living in filth, living without hope? And it really breaks my heart to see what Oakland has come to. I grew up here as a little girl, and it was so beautiful. Now it's like everyone comes to dump all of their trash. Something has to be done about what Oakland is going down to. Thank you.
Can I give a brief comment about trash? I have totally seen it too. I've lived in this city my whole life. I've never seen this much trash on the streets. And Director Duffy will tell you that we measure how much illegal dumping we pick up, and it literally has ballooned over these last few years. I have seen a correlation with when the garbage contract changed. I believe when we started to really see an increase in the dumping. And so we are doing a few things. One, we're really trying to hold Waste Management's feet to the fire to change some aspects of our contract with them. We've actually made it easier for people to get their, big items picked up, and we have a free dump day down on Edgewater last Saturday of every month. Last Saturday, if you have something that you want to get rid of that doesn't fit in your trash can, you don't have to pay to take it to the dump. You can just drive it down to Edgewater, and if it's recyclable, we'll recycle it. The other thing I want to say is we analyzed a lot of the dumping, and it is not all coming from outside of the city. A lot of it is coming from inside the city. So I just want to name that. I know this feeling about when you see this trash and you're so angry. It feels like a sign of disrespect, of inhumanity. So and Director Duffy knows just how crazy it drives me because he hears about it all the time. So I can just tell you there are some systemic things we're doing. We're also putting out cameras to try and catch some of these dumpers, because some people are making money. They're telling you that they'll clean out your garage, and then they drive around the corner and just dump it. And so those are the people we're particularly trying to catch. And we've deployed some cameras. We have what I call like the trash detectives out there. So for right now, and someone else talked about proactive. We actually are doing more proactive picking up, not just waiting for people to call. Although I do thank everyone for being our eyes and our ears. Calling 311, reporting it through Oak 311 actually does help us respond faster. And it also gives us the data that allows us to decide which neighborhoods need that proactive pickup. But I just want to share your frustration. And, when you look at that postcard that we prepared, like what is the best way to heal your anger is a little bit of action. And, we also just had a program where we're trying to invite and actually support more citizen ideas. And we definitely, I think you're going to be seeing us do something more where we'll be paying our unhoused residents to help beautify our neighborhoods. We also just unleashed a big youth job program this summer that also is going to help clean up with Civicor and YEP, actually training young people to not only just pick up trash, but to understand how trash impacts the environment, why recycling matters, and to also provide a pipeline for some of these young people to come work for our public works department. They're great jobs in the city of Oakland, and we want to inspire young people to seek careers in public service as well. But I feel your pain. I can tell you these are some systemic things that we are working on to try and address it.
I need to make one comment.
Just
take a second. Just take a quick. Okay. It's off of her comment. A good first step, Libby, would be to drop the franchise fee to Waste Management. That would be a good first step.
That would not help us. that fee actually pays for our cleanup. So that would be less resources for us to actually clean up neighborhoods.
But the price at Davis Street would go way down.
No, but then there'd be less cleaning. Anyway, I hear what you're saying, but unfortunately that's how we use the fee. But anyway, thank you for the suggestion.
Good afternoon. How are you doing there?
I'm good, thank you.
I just want to say that I'm really happy that we're getting local businesses down in the East 18th around Lucky's and restaurants and stuff. But we just need someone with a broom and a dustpan to clean up from 3rd Avenue to East 3rd Avenue, 6th Avenue along East 18th. Then we skip down here to 13th Avenue all the way down, and maybe, and I said this when they were proposing it, someone come and clean out the tree wells, because the tree wells are a mess, and I'm being polite about that. And I've seen this because I've been living in this area, when, as I said, long time, over 50 years. And for everybody who's frustrated, please, if you can, stay in Oakland and let's fight for Oakland.
Yes.
This what started the crap is when people started moving out, going to Antioch. Now, Antioch has one of the highest crime areas. Let's stay and fight and keep Oakland, because honestly, we have to think about leaving, where are our kids, grandkids going to stay? I'm working now with the law, with the legal things, so when I pass on in another 50 years, that my grandson can have the house. Let's stay and fight if you can. I had culture shock because I went with a friend to rent a place here, Brooklyn basement, 2-bedroom, $2,900 a month. God help these people, Anyway, thank you, dear.
Thank you. I love that spirit. So one of the ways that we fight, and I think that's kind of what Oakland's about. Like, we are feisty. We are fighters. I want to respect. I know there are a lot of fighters here that have been kind of coming with us on this town hall journey. So thank you for your fight. I like, people saw my Oakland come out when Donald Trump tried to come for our immigrant community here in Oakland. Like, that's who we are. We fight for our community and our city. I love what you just said. So for me, one of the ways I fight is not only getting angry, but getting active. And where are our postcards?
They have them.
Do you all have one? Can someone give me one so I can read off of it? This is a test.
No, sir. No.
Peggy's in charge. So I think part of how we fight and how we love is through action, through service. There's some really easy ones, like just something you can do one time. And then there are some other ideas that you could do more ongoing. I love Adopt a Spot, where you say, all right, that broom and that dustpan, that's going to be mine. I'm going to go out and actually sweep this area. And the city will actually give you tools, will give you bags, you'll get support, you'll get love. So that's one thing that we can do to show our love and our fight for our city. So please check this out. I'm trying to encourage everybody to find one thing that you will try to do. It can be just a one-time thing, like joining us on a ceasefire walk. I love going on those. And if you go to this website and you think we're missing a good idea of how you wish other people in the community were doing things, there's a place where you can add your own suggestion. So that is what I hope we are going to continue to do as Oaklanders. We are going to fight for the town, El Pueblo, and we are going to continue to build community. I loved what Andrew said about how we create a sense of belonging. We do that through public spaces like this. We do that through the arts. Thank you, Elena and the Eastside Arts Alliance. You know I love you. We do that through sports and health. And we do that by also compassion for our neighbors that have gone through some hard times. So thank you. Please hang out and continue our conversations. Go talk to these amazing public servants. Thank you. Bless you. We loved hearing from you at the first.